like to go around. But I mean, you know.
Good morning. We're here to give our 10:30 update for the Alamo Plaza Archaeology project. I'm standing here with my colleague, He is working across the street at the south wall, and he is going to be providing the briefing in Spanish following mine. So today we're here to talk about what we have found so far here at the west wall area. And last week we were very excited to discover we've got the remnants of an adobe brick wall. So we've got basically in the ground, you can see clearly, bricks stacked next to each other. They're made of adobe, so they're very fragile. And we will be able to email you all a statement with pictures following this session so you can get a look at what it looks like. This type of feature would have been associated with some of the structures in this area. We're not quite sure yet how it's going to relate, so we're going to be doing some additional analysis and looking at how these bricks might actually relate to the rest of the compound and the walls over in this area. In addition, just to give you an idea, the flagstones you're standing on right now, the top of this feature is about 58 centimeters below the flagstones. So that kind of gives you an idea of how shallowly buried these features are. We just got the remnants. We may change how we proceed from now on, now that we've got a little remnant of this adobe, to see if we're going to continue to target the same area or if we're going to try to catch and see if there are additional architectural features elsewhere. So day by day we'll be reevaluating how we proceed based on what we're finding. And if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Which site did you find the adobe brick at? Right here or over there?
It's right here behind me. Remember where those wall reconstructions are? They are actually right between, there's a wall reconstruction in front of it and a wall reconstruction behind it, and we found the bricks between those, between the city's representation.
And this is the south wall or west wall?
This is the west wall area.
So why are you convinced that this is the actual wall and not a wall around the priest's home or some other structure?
We actually are not convinced it is the west wall. All we know at this point is that it is an adobe wall, adobe brick wall. You're absolutely right. It could be related to another feature of the west wall. We know that there were rooms that were between it, and maybe related to those rooms rather than on the compound wall. So that is why we will be doing further analysis.
Say that one more time.
Oh, sure. The question was, how do we know this is part of the west wall? Well, we don't. What we do know is we have an adobe brick wall feature, and that it is related to the structures somehow that were here. That could include the outer wall of the compound, but it could also include some of the rooms where the Native Americans lived outside the wall.
So at least now you know what the walls at that time looked like. So when you see it again, you'll be able to recognize it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the adobe is very, very hard to see. It's something that when we got very excited and we showed some of the project team members and they said, I'm not quite sure what I'm looking at. But when you look at it very closely, you can see the outlines of bricks. They're not going to be the small bricks like you're used to seeing in masonry structures. They're larger. And it's a very soft material, so we have to be very careful and sensitive not to scrape it away.
So you think there was some sort of fill material between these bricks? Is that how it works?
Typically, the adobe mud, they were just stacked. There might have been some kind of sandy mortar between them, but for the most part, they're just dry stacked is what we've got left.
So how far apart are they?
There is maybe a centimeter or two gap, and really, we're not talking about solid bricks, just to be clear. This is almost more of a soil stain, if you will. It's a difference in color in the soil because these bricks were made of mud. So they're very sensitive to weather, and we're not exposing them any further at this point because we don't want to damage those bricks. We want to leave them in place.
How large is the area?
It's only a couple of feet. We've just caught part of that wall.
If this isn't the perimeter wall, what do these bricks tell you about the site itself, beyond just there's a wall here, where's the building?
Well, depending on how many courses of brick, they might tell us a little bit about the architecture that was being used, regardless of which wall we are looking at. It could tell us about the architecture, the deposits around it. It may tell us something about what wall it is. Sometimes you'll have a bunch of trash that's accumulated next to a living wall, like of a house. You know how you sweep into the corners? Sometimes you get a little accumulation of that. Sometimes you can just get architectural information. There's information to get, we're just not sure what kind yet.
Tell me about how your team went about finding fit, how they went about finding this wall. You stumble across, you just pick a point and dig at random, or what?
What we did before we started is we set up a grid to locate where our digs are in space, and we looked specifically at the city's reconstructions of the walls, plus previous excavations that occurred right behind you all over here at what's called the Radio Shack site. There used to be a Radio Shack here. And all those things told us we were in a very good area to find remnants of the walls. And we thought if we put something between the city's reconstructions, we could kind of ground truth it. And sure enough, we were able to ground truth their reconstructions are on point.
You said that you're going to be changing how you approach the dig site. What does that entail?
Every day we take a look at what we found that day, where artifacts are coming from, where those features are. And then we say, okay, the information we're after for this master plan is where are the compound walls and, you know, what was the elevation? Are we getting information out of these units that'll tell us that? The one thing we always have in mind is that archaeology is a process that you can't go back and replicate. Once you dig it, it's gone. So we're being very mindful in how we approach this so that we are not just digging to dig. We're digging to get information to answer these questions.
Now, if we say you found bricks, people are going to think about like that, like those things over there. Would it be safer to say you found evidence of bricks?
You know, they still are bricks. It's just that their preservation is so poor that they're probably going to crumble if you expose them and dig down. So they are still bricks. It's just that they're very fragile.
So did you make the discovery Friday and then spend the weekend trying to figure out the context of what you had found?
We did make the discovery on Friday, and we wanted to be sure we were able to say what we were looking at. You know, one thing in being mindful about all this is that we do not want to jump the gun. We're approaching it very cautiously. And that's why we're telling you now that we do have the remnants of an adobe brick wall, but we're not 100% sure what wall that is or what context that's in.
So you said this could, if it's not the perimeter wall, it could be a building from either inside or outside the zone, so you're not sure which side of the perimeter wall it's on or would be on?
Exactly. We've still got a little bit to determine whether it would be an interior wall or exterior wall. All we know right now is we've got wall.
How does the discovery change the work that you're doing in terms of the direction of the dig and that kind of thing?
Because now we have some evidence, we'd really like to focus on chasing that evidence out. You know, the last thing we want to do is do a little bit here, a little bit there, and really at the end of the day not understand what we're looking at. So our focus is on answering those research questions for the master plan. And so now that we've got a little bit of wall, we really want to understand how that fits into the bigger picture.
What are the next steps for figuring out what kind of wall it is and how it's
We will look to archival research as well as altering possibly where we're digging. You know, we had some units set out. There's one that we're hoping to find remnants of wall in. If we don't find it there, we may expand where we were when we found the wall.
What's the historical significance of the stone wall?
Well, because we've got something from the Spanish colonial period, we know we're digging in the right place, the right time, and now we know we can get information from the ground over here that will support the master plan and the reinterpretation.
How deep did you have to go to find it?
We are only about 58 centimeters below where we're standing now, so really we went down maybe 6-7 inches before we started to scrape the top, and then by the time we knew what we were looking at, we were a little closer to about, I'd say 8 inches.
Is that like how deep that you guys need to dig for the rest of the sites, or is that?
Well, Dr. Tomka is starting work across the street today, and he is starting at a much lower elevation. which does help us understand how the site may have changed over time. We know there's been roads constructed and sidewalks put in, so part of what Dr. Tomka and I are doing together is figuring out how the site looked in different spaces over different times.
Do you maybe you answered this already, but do you have an idea of how big the bricks are? I mean, you're finding individual bricks, right?
They're stacked together, but you can see the lines between them where they would have had mortar or even a dry stack where they would have had a gap. But they're pretty big. We will get the photos to everybody after the briefing, and you can kind of get a better handle on what they look like. It's hard for me to visually describe because you don't really have a frame of reference till you see it. Well, if anybody would like to hear the briefing in Spanish, I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Tomka, who can address questions and the discovery in Spanish.
Me llamo Dr. Esteban Tomka.
Soy uno de los excavadores arqueólogos.
Patty, Amy from Cobble, Texas, Lorna from Decatur, thanks for tuning in, Jacob from San Antonio, thanks everybody for tuning in today. Really exciting stuff here at the Alamo. Don't forget, we have a public meeting Tuesday, August the 2nd from 6 to 8 at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center at the Stars at Night Ballroom. Make sure and mark your calendars for that time. And next time you tune in, we'll be here again at 10:30 tomorrow morning. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We're here in the heart of San Antonio, but we always love to hear where everyone else is tuning in from. We got a question to see Dr. Tomka give the briefing in Spanish, so we'll head back over that way. Thanks, Deanna. Thanks for your question.
10 milímetros, 1 centímetro entre cada uno de ellos, y son parte de un murallito antiguo. Debe ser construido por indios que han vivido aquí en Misión y son de la época colonial. No sé si ustedes tienen unas preguntas, algo así que puedo explicar o no. ¿Hay algo, unas preguntitas o algo así? Recientemente hemos empezado, tenemos más o menos así como 4 semanas, 5 semanas para trabajar todavía. Entonces estamos pensando que a los fines de agosto vamos a terminar. Entonces tenemos así como a lo menos 4 semanas más. Y cada día, con la excepción de sábado y domingo, vamos a trabajar. Sí, y la arqueología es trabajo muy lento, muy poco se excava cada día. Entonces los avances son pequeños cada día, pero algunas veces tenemos suerte y encontramos algo muy interesante. Puede ser que vamos a excavar en otros lugares también. Más antes de la empezada de las excavaciones, hemos hecho un survey con ground penetrating radar, y ese nos ha avisado que hay unos lugares más que son bien interesantes, y entonces si vamos a terminar en un lugar más antes que el fin de agosto, vamos a volver y excavar en otros lugares también. Pero ahora excavamos en 2 nomás. Esteban Tomka o Steve Tomka. Estoy arqueólogo con Rava Kistner, ingenieros Rava Kistner aquí en San Antonio.
Dr. Tomka, how are you feeling? ¿Cómo se siente about everything that you're finding?
It's very exciting. Es muy interesante, y no sé si quieres en inglés o no, but it's very exciting to be able to find something so close to surface and still have it intact. You know, downtown, you think that everywhere where we excavate, somebody would have destroyed it already. And here, having something that's intact and just in pristine condition, so close to surface, is really exciting. It gives us hope that we'll find similar features and similar things very close to surface without too much effort.
Muchísimas gracias.
no hay por qué. Muchísimas gracias.